Welcome to another episode of My Story. Today we're talking blankies, beanies and booties. You may think, what's that got to do with my story? But it's about my guest. So I've known this incredible woman, and she reminded me the other day, for over 30 years. Carmen Phillips, welcome to the set of My Story.
Thank you, Rhonda. It's really an honor to be here with you today.
And you're so very welcome. So the other day we had a very good catch up. We reminisced about our corporate days and how well we worked together. And then our journey kind of parted through various walks in life. You joined another corporation. I went on to do something else. But we always kind of kept in touch via this beautiful medium called social media. And Carmen has founded this amazing charity and this organization where she and a group of her village, her volunteers have come to around one another and produce the most amazing items of clothing. But we're going to park that for now, and I'm going to quote a scripture that or a line that I saw you posted on social media the other day. And I quote Carmen, "I conquered two of my worst fears since COVID-19. I renewed my spectacles and I renewed my driver's license, albeit 14 months later." So here comes 2020 and it rocks our entire world. As a matter of fact, the whole globe went into lockdown because of this pandemic. And you yourself were affected by this. Tell us your story.
Wow, Rhonda, COVID-19 2020 was one amazing shocker. Yes, I don't know how my husband and I, both being seniors, we don't really want to think about it more often than not until we try to get out of bed in the morning. Then it's snap, crackle and pop. We live for the entire time, even today, we still live virtually according to lockdown level 5, where we minimize our contact with the outside world and really only go out when we need to. During the first couple of months since lockdown, we stayed home, only left home about 5 times for the first couple of months, I'd say between March and July. And somehow, my daughter first caught the bug, youngest daughter, and she was very, very sick. And I used to tend to her, but she's pulled through. After that, Brian got sick, but it was not, Leanne got COVID. Brian didn't get COVID. Brian got what they said at the time was vertigo, which the symptoms were very similar to some of the COVID symptoms. He was ill. We got him to the doctor. He was down. He was really, we thought we were going to lose him, being a high risk.
Comorbidities.
He's comorbidities. Yeah. He's on insulin. He couldn't do that. That's the first time after Brian's been a diabetic for about 15, 18 years. I had to learn then, crash course, in how to give him his insulin. I had to spoon feed him, get him to drink some water. He could not do a thing for himself.
You were his primary caregiver.
I was his primary care. I had to wash, feed, whatever. Anyway, it pulled a little bit through. Just when we thought, okay, after about a week, 10 days, he got ill again. This time around, it was a prostate infection, which once again was, because we got him back to doctor, they did blood tests, still no COVID. And it was about 4 or 5 days into that when I started feeling
the symptoms.
My chest, I was feeling a bit chesty, dry, itchy cough. Okay, don't quote me on this one. Yes, I used to smoke, and I could not stomach a cigarette as much as I wanted on the Tuesday. I would walk with a cigarette in my hand, couldn't get it in my mouth. And that's how days passed. I didn't feel lekker by the Thursday. We went, I phoned doctor, he said he referred me to organized online, whatever. Went to the drive-through for the COVID
Testing?
test. Friday morning I was positive. When I was confirmed positive, I moved out of our bedroom into the one of the guest rooms. So Bran, I was in separate rooms.
Yeah.
We had to sanitize, blah blah blah.
So you went into quarantine and
I
in
went
isolation.
into quarantine.
Yeah.
With Leanne being in quarantine in her room.
Yeah.
Thank goodness our house is spacious enough
Yeah.
that we could accommodate. So we were left with my son-in-law and my son, who had to tend to these three patients. And by the Sunday morning, I got very bad diarrhea in my chest. Oh, then I also got the nebulizer, that didn't want to work. I didn't get better then.
Yeah.
By the afternoon, I said to my daughter, I need to get to hospital. In the whole debate,
Should
can't
you go?
because then we're not going to see you and you may not come back and everybody's emotional. Eventually, I could not breathe. I was totally deprived of oxygen. So I said, just get me to the hospital. I don't care how or whatever, whether you dump me there or the ambulance, I need to go. Anyway.
So Carmen, so then I saw this all happening on your Facebook page when you were hospitalized, and you kind of journaled about your stay during hospital, and remind us about that touch and go experience.
Rhonda, if I didn't journalize it via Facebook, I probably wouldn't have remembered, because months after that I had to go back to go and revisit what I posted. I do remember being in and out of it most of the time. My oxygen levels were very low, being in ICU high care, and I was in, strange enough, only patient in that ward with 4 beds for the first couple of days. And
that's almost a blessing to
yes,
be alone.
It was actually. And the nice thing that I really, really appreciated, and that was one of the videos that I posted, even though I couldn't remember afterwards, my boy is coming to visit me in the afternoon after work, standing outside the window of my ward, and we could communicate, which was excellent. It kept me in touch with them. It was very emotional for everyone. But yes, it was dreadful. I hated that. I hated feeling so alone, isolated. But in another sense, it brought me so much closer, because I spent all my time talking to the Lord.
Yes, it brought you and meditating
all the time,
and being still and know. Yes.
And it was necessary. It was needed. And when I was discharged from hospital, my one biggest gratitude was for second chances. And since then, I've embraced my life.
And time is precious.
Time, everything is special. Because I know I kind of bargained with the Lord. You contact me now. I've been a
model citizen,
obsessive crafter, and also I'm a warder, and I've got dozens of unfinished projects. And I thought, Lord, you can't take me now. My kids are going to dump all my plate of love.
They're going to chuck.
Exactly. So
here you are today, pulled through, a survivor like I am. So I know that whole isolation and quarantine period. I also have a story about my COVID experience, about extreme hair loss. And here we both are. 30 years later of a great friendship, and we telling our stories to the viewers. And so, Carmen, once again, you write, and I quote you, our primary focus is to craft clothes so that the 150 premature babies in 4 Kangaroo Mother Care Units can receive these wonderful gifts. Now, at the time when I read that, and I kind of know what you were on about, but I didn't know what the Kangaroo Mother Care Unit means. And so I want to touch on this amazing charity venture and this, I call it an organization because you're such an organizer and you're such a good project manager, because I listen to how you engage on social media with your village. And so tell us about the Butterfly Project.
Wow, Rhonda, now we're talking. That's my absolute passion, my reason for getting up in the morning. Butterfly Project was conceived 7 years ago at our Utnakheim matric class of 74 40th reunion. It was during the socializing, having drinks and playing catch up over 40 years, that I met an amazing couple. That her husband was at school with me back in the day, but he was 2 standards below me, and his dad was the principal of the school. So it was just amazing seeing everybody. It was just basically the Cape Townians, because I was at Utnakheim in the Eastern Cape. And the lady has been doing her baby, they only had the one child, was also a preemie baby. Her being, her husband's a dentist, they were private patients. She was at Louis Leipold when she gave birth to this preemie. Medical aid ran out, and then she was transferred to Tygerberg Hospital. So
which is one of, I just want to remind our viewers, it is one of our government sponsored hospitals in Cape Town.
yeah, it's one of the biggest or the largest academic hospitals in the country.
So it is a teaching hospital.
Yes.
It's a teaching hospital.
Teaching hospital. Yeah. Because you've got the Stellenbosch University medical suite just opposite the hospital. So the students from Stellenbosch, medical students
go over to Tygerberg.
There. So yes, there are physiotherapists, occupational therapists, neonatologists, gynecologists, you name it.
So this lady had to then have her baby transferred to the Tygerberg Hospital because the baby was premature, and go on with the story.
And then that happened 23 years ago. And for 23 years, she's been doing volunteer work at Tygerberg. And for years, being a crafter, I've been wanting to give back.
I like that, giving back.
And that is where the idea was conceived.
So tell us what you do.
What I started out with is, it was initially, after sending in a proposal, I had to do the whole business plan, whatever, to management at hospital, and it was accepted, and I started. So initially, it was meant to be part of the hospital's occupational therapy program for the moms who, when their babies are born, some of them spend up to 5 months nurturing their little ones until
At hospital.
At hospital.
At the little incubator.
Yes, sleeping. They go from ICU, high care, and then into the normal kangaroo unit, where, just to give you an insight of what kangarooing is about, I'm going to use my little doll.
I like that.
So, okay, not supposed to have a covered top on, but
I kind of flesh to flesh
with baby in here.
Yeah.
Now, when baby's not being kangarooed, this is where this comes in, the little vest. Now, when the baby is that tiny, we're talking between
600 grams.
600 grams, and they can go home once they reach 1.9, just under 2
kilograms.
That is if they don't have other medical problems.
Okay.
Now, first it was the beanies.
Look at that.
I started
booties, and
this is what it was all
blankies.
about. The OT was about, or the program was about, to teach the moms to make, because there was always a shortage on beanies.
Yeah.
So the moms could learn how to knit their own beanies for their babies. And then by learning a new skill, they go back to their communities. With a ball of wool, you can start generating income.
Put the beanie on the premature baby.
This is what my first pattern, because then I was not so techno savvy, didn't know about internet and all the patterns out there. So I designed this little beanie. It's a double rib beanie. As you can see, it's tiny, but it also stretches.
So as baby grows,
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Because back then it was only me. The program with the moms didn't work so well because the turnover in moms
Yeah.
over the period of time was too big, because
Yes.
I'd be there on Tuesday, come Thursday, mom's not there, she's gone. Took my needles, took my wool. Okay. So I had to then shift my focus, and that is what Butterfly has been all about over the 7 years.
Yeah.
Thinking on my feet and making this thing work every time I was faced with a challenge. So this pattern is one of my own designs, and it can go from a 600 gram baby up to 1.9. My absolute favorite beanie, because it's so versatile.
And then where's the booties?
Booties also came, we had to adjust, because babies sometimes have drips in their heads and drips on their feet. Okay, this one is a closed up, but we also do open heel to allow for the drip to come. So there baby goes.
So while you're dressing the baby, Carmen, I just wanted to say that over the years, being married to Mark and listening to their stories, Mark's mommy always reminded us that even though Mark is 1.8 meters, he was a premature baby. He was born at 700 grams, and he was in a little, what they termed then, the shoebox baby. He could fit in a little shoebox. So this is kind of what we're talking about right now.
Now, this one, this vest, I'm just going to jumping around a bit, but anyway, with Christmas, over the years that I've been running the project, I used to shut down at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Around the 15th, and take a break until March.
For the holiday
because
season.
Because it's too hot also to crochet. Yeah. And with lockdown, when I said, okay, when the second upsurge came, then hospital was
shut
no-go and then restricted access. So the one day I said, okay, I couldn't do my last drop-off at hospital. I'm shutting down for 2020. We'll resume in March 2021. The next day, the lady said, now what are we supposed to do? And I thought, okay, I'm not going to get off here. So I thought, over the years, nobody ever wanted to make this vest because they're so cumbersome to make. But there is also a story behind this vest. As much as they hate it, Tygerberg's the only one that uses this. And it's unique because when babies are so tiny and they are attached to all these machinery and tubes and stuff, baby cannot be handled a lot. So what makes this vest so unique? Open the vest, put baby in.
You tie the little strings and
that's it.
Yes.
Keeps baby warm. When baby comes due for kangaroo, you take it off, skin to skin, and there you go. So,
Carmen, that's amazing, and you're amazing. And then I said to you, 2020 must have been your most productive year because nobody was going out, nobody was socializing, and there your village is sitting at home and saying, we need a challenge, give us a challenge, we need to create and make and craft. And then I also saw on your social media, somebody said, then the challenge to make 3,000 beanies by the end of May, and somebody said, why not 5,000 instead?
This is 2021.
Yes.
2020's challenge was initially what I said, 500 beanies with the start of lockdown. And I said until the end of April, can I have 5? And then one of my admin ladies, obviously due to the size of our membership, I cannot do it on my own anymore. I've got 5 magnificent ladies, each a specialist in their own field. And then the one lady, I call her my blanket factory, she said, let's go for 1,000. Oh, well, lo and behold, it didn't end by 1,000. I think we totaled 3,200 in a 6-week period.
My goodness.
And I could supply Cape Town with beanies. I think hospitals still use last year's beanies, and now, of course, this year again.
The challenge
coming.
Yes.
So the challenge came again, and the ladies were nagging a bit in the background, or the crafters, or they feel like making beanies. I thought, okay, there are still beanies, but hospital, we still have preemie beanies. So now I thought, let me keep you occupied. And I
Yeah.
think that's what they're looking up to,
Yes.
is for me to give them a sense of purpose
Purpose.
with their crafting. So yes,
I love that.
said, okay, we're now going to do not 3,000. I know I said 3,000, but in brackets I put 5,000. And they said, wow, is that achievable? I thought, well, if I could get almost 3.5 in 6 weeks in 2020, when we only had a membership of 600 and now we're about 1.2 thousand, I'm sure we can achieve 5,000. And then I've extended from birth to tweens, which is 13,
Yes.
which is what the Children's Hospital is about.
Yes. Yes.
So we are now looking at all the other pediatric wards, and so that is where it's come in.
My goodness, not only are you a wife, a mother, a granny, you're also this project manager. And as we wrap up your story, I need the viewers to know that there is a production line that takes place. There is a process to making on the conveyor belt. So just tell us quickly how that all works before it gets delivered.
All right. We have grown tremendously over the years, Rhonda. I've also had ladies in the UK that used to post things to me. Stuff comes from Tygerberg, Northern Cape. I can say all over South Africa, East London, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, West Coast. So because of the size we now, before when I was alone, I used to drive all over to go and pick it up, and to Brian's dismay, because of petrol and whatever, and sometimes not going into such nice areas, but however, we then introduced drop-off points, which work so well. So in Durbanville, we have a drop-off point lady. We've got a lady covering Bellville, Brackenfell, Carroll's River.
Yes,
remember?
yes.
So then I've got a lady in Constantia who does southern suburbs. There's a lady out on the west coast that does that. And then there's a lady in the Northern Cape, I think Lutzville, and I don't know if it's Pitsonawata or whatever, something like that.
And then it comes, then this,
yes,
then this
they've got
items
Carnarvon and Lutzville, that area. And then she's got a group of ladies that in different towns, then she collects them all, wraps them up, and courier down to me.
And so you are the main drop-off point.
Yes, I am.
And then what do you do with all those items?
Okay. No, previously, I used to have the project room that I could use at the hospital, but now with the restrictions and stuff, now I've got to do everything at home without help. I used to have help when we were out there, so now what I do is I bought crates, and I work smarter, not harder.
Yeah,
I've got a whole lot of crates, and each crate has got its label, what goes there. As stuff comes in, I throw it in. If the crate gets full, gets counted, bagged, and on the pile. And once a month, my boys, they pack the bakkie, and we arrange with hospital. The drop-off or the collection happens in the parking lot at hospital. So then the sisters from hospital come out and
they collect it from you.
They collect it and they take it up.
Wow, it sounds like a major operation, but you make it sound so simple, so easy. And that's when you have purpose, when you're able to be a volunteer like yourself, no pay, just a reward, labor of love. I like that. It's just rewarding for yourself, and it gives you a great purpose to do what you do.
Rhonda, the other thing I think with a lot of my crafters, because we work so intimately together, because I normally post patterns or I share patterns, and because there's so many ladies, each one will take their pick and start working, and that becomes their favorite. So a lot of our ladies are also, they don't have babies. or they don't have children.
Children. They have empty nests.
So empty, total.
So they have the
never
time.
had children.
Yes.
And that's part of the healing. And then there's
I like that.
parents who's lost their babies, who don't have grandbabies. I've only got one, so so I still play doll because yes, I should have had like the old lady in the shoe, a whole lot of grandkids, but enough love for them all. Yeah, so it's for different people doing it for different reasons, and that makes it so much more special.
You are amazing. You're great.
And the other thing, just before we wrap up, Rhonda, is because I interact so closely with the staff and management at the hospital, we often identify areas of need. So what started off with a beanie, then vest and booties added. Now what we do, it came up about in one of the meetings we had that there were moms from up country who, due to the emergency of trying to suppress the labor, they get brought in by ambulance literally with the clothes in their body.
Yeah.
And they're in the prenatal ward trying to keep baby in there as long as it can, and then baby doesn't make no date with no one. If he wants to come, he comes. Yeah. So mom comes literally with the clothes on her back. There was no stalk party or whatever. No, you haven't even started shopping at 5 months. You haven't started shopping, and there's no clothes. And you also don't get tiny clothes in the shop. So that's what makes our project so unique. So what we do is, this is how it happens. Our package for those mums especially, this is a going home set.
Yes.
Your leggings, your matinee jacket, your little booties, your beanie,
and your blankie,
your fleece blanket, and your wool blanket. And it all gets sealed per packet. So when a baby goes home,
it goes home with the gift of love.
Absolutely. You can see how much love has gone in.
I can see that.
Really, look at there.
Oh, look at the details on it.
Absolutely.
Carmen. So thank you for the chat. We could go on and on and on, as you know. So maybe we leave it for part 2 for next time. So thank you for being amazing. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you to your village who comes around you and who volunteers with you, and they do this labor of love. If you enjoyed this episode, won't you please like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the set of My Story.